Hi, it's Christina from Cemetery of Choice. Today is August 23rd, and we are going to talk about the abortion death that was not a criminal abortion death. And Pauline Shirley is one of the women that abortion rights groups tout as a woman who died because she wasn't able to get a safe, legal abortion. And I looked and looked for substantiating documentation, but if there's anything that they're good at, it's failing to provide substantiating documentation. They are spectacularly good at cutting, pasting, and not documenting. Now, I'm always dubious about these supposed abortion deaths. Back in the late 1980s, the family of Becky Bell, her parents, were traveling the country talking about how she had died from a botched criminal abortion that she had supposedly sought because there were parental consent laws. And I was curious. I thought, I bet this abortion was illegal only in that they failed to get parental consent. No, I was wrong. It hadn't actually happened. If you look at her death certificate, she died of this, not her death certificate, her autopsy report. She died of the same strain of pneumonia that killed Jim Henson. Her reproductive organs were perfectly healthy, but her lungs were just racked with pneumonia. And, infection is not something that tidies up, rents a U-Haul, and moves to a new place. If the infection had started in her uterus, it would have been worse in her uterus. And then it would have spread to her lungs, not picked up and moved there. So Becky's parents saw the word abortion, which means miscarriage. Becky had a miscarriage while she was dying, and evidently thought this meant induced abortion. And pro-choice movement didn't see any reason to enlighten them about that because they wanted a dead teenager whose body they could drag around to try to argue against parental involvement laws. So the fact that Becky didn't actually die from an induced abortion of any sort, much less a criminal one, really, they weren't too shy about using that. So I try to substantiate everything. And when I can't substantiate it, I'm honest. I mean, you see, legal, illegal, self-induced, done by a doctor, I don't care. If I verify this woman died from an abortion, I'm going to write about it. I think they're all equally tragic, regardless of whether or not it was legal to kill the baby. I think it's still wrong to kill the mother. Okay? So at any rate, the abortion rights websites say that Pauline and her 6 children were living with her mother in Arizona while her husband was in California looking for work. And they say that she had an illegal abortion, but they don't provide any information about a method or a perpetrator. And they say that she bled to death while her mother was out searching for a blood donor. Well, I persisted. I was able to get her death certificate. And it indicates that, yes, Pauline was born June 2nd, 1910, and died in an Arizona hospital, but she died August 23rd, not August 22nd. And she was evidently living with her mother, but she wasn't living with her husband because she wasn't married anymore. I'm not going to get too persnickety about that. Now, the death certificate's not going to indicate whether she was living with her children or how many she had or what her mother was doing. That's not going to be on a death certificate. But the cause of death says secondary anemia and uterine hemorrhage, which substantiates that she bled to death. But the cause of death is noted as incomplete abortion, spontaneous with a question mark. Now, abortion is the medical term for a miscarriage. Spontaneous abortion does not mean she spontaneously decided to get an abortion and did not give a whole lot of thought to it. It means her body went, get rid of this fetus. Okay? And the section about external causes of death is blank. Okay? That would mean that there were no signs that anybody, Pauline or somebody else, used any kind of instruments, whether medical instruments or a coat hanger, to try to perform an abortion. Now, this doesn't 100% rule out abortifacients. Okay? She might have consumed an herbal tea or used some other concoction, but providing it for her would have been a crime. So if they had suspected she'd done that, they would have investigated that. So yeah, I can never say with 100% certainty that Pauline didn't use some sort of abortifacient. But from the preponderance of evidence, she had a miscarriage. Somebody, probably her mother, saw the word abortion and misunderstood what it meant. And I really can't understand why abortion rights people keep using these ones that you can't substantiate when I provide them plenty that have lots and lots of documentation, including some nice, gruesome, self-induced abortions complete with death certificates. So read the blog. The Cemetery of Choice website's going to be back up soon. You can go there. You can pretend that all illegal abortions were self-induced or done by an amateur. You can totally ignore the ones done by doctors and nurses. You can totally ignore all the safe and legal deaths. But at least choose something you can substantiate. Raise your standards a little. Yeah, the pro-choice standards for substantiating documentation's right up there with their standards for abortion clinic cleanliness, which is a pretty low bar.